Tuna oven tragedy. On October 11, 2012, around 6 in the morning, 62-year-old Jose Molina arrived for his shift at the Bumblebee Foods processing plant in Santa Fe Springs, California. Jose was a veteran employee and father of 6 who had worked at the facility for years. That morning, he entered a 35-foot-long cylindrical industrial pressure cooker to repair a chain mechanism inside the massive oven. Fellow employees began loading the oven with approximately 12,000 pounds of raw canned tuna, completely unaware that Jose remained inside. Workers sealed the heavy oven door and activated the cooking cycle. The temperature inside rapidly climbed to approximately 270 degrees Fahrenheit. The oven ran continuously for roughly 2 hours with Jose trapped in the superheated chamber. No one at the facility realized Jose was missing during the entire cooking cycle. When workers finally opened the oven door hours later, they discovered his remains. Emergency services responded immediately, but could only pronounce Jose dead at the scene. Bumblebee Foods paid a historic $6 million settlement, including $1.5 million to Jose's family, for willful safety violations, while 2 managers faced criminal prosecution. Molten caramel horror. On October 20, 2017, during the afternoon shift, 36-year-old Natalia Nemitz was working at the Slavyanka confectionery factory in Stary Oskol, Russia. Natalia was a mother of 1 child and had been assigned to clean a large mixing tank used for molten caramel production. The factory produced various candies and sweets using massive industrial equipment. Natalia was inside the bowl when molten caramel suddenly gushed into the tank where she was working. The sticky, superheated mixture engulfed her body and trapped her in the deep vessel. Rotating metal blades in the bowl continued to stir the caramel mixture as she became submerged. Coworkers noticed she was missing and began searching the factory floor for her. Witnesses found only her legs protruding from the massive caramel-filled bowl. The intense heat and viscous nature of the molten candy prevented colleagues from attempting any rescue. Workers had to drain the caramel completely before her body could be retrieved from the industrial mixer. Labor Commission investigations were launched into safety violations at the factory, while custody of Natalia's child passed to her sister Yulia. Wedding soup death. On June 15, 2021, in the late afternoon, 25-year-old Isa Ismail was preparing a massive feast at Hazel Hall for weddings and events in the Zakho district of Iraqi Kurdistan. Isa was a father of 3 children, including a 6-month-old infant, and earned approximately 25,000 dinars per day, equivalent to just $17. He was cooking a signature chicken soup in a giant industrial-sized vat for a wedding celebration. Isa slipped and fell into the boiling liquid while working near the massive vat. Approximately 70% of his body was submerged in the superheated soup. Kitchen staff rushed to pull him from the vat as quickly as possible, but the damage was catastrophic. He was transported immediately to a hospital in Duhok with severe 3rd-degree burns covering most of his body. Isa battled his injuries for 5 agonizing days in the hospital. He died from severe thermal burns and complications on June 20, 2021. His death left behind 3 young children and a devastated family. The tragedy sparked public outrage over safety standards in commercial kitchens across the region, highlighting the lack of protective barriers around industrial cooking equipment. First day explosion. On March 9, 2023, around mid-morning, 36-year-old Alminda Maria Teixeira da Costa Neta arrived for her very first day of work at Churrascaria Chimarrão, a steakhouse in Mogi Guaçu, São Paulo State, Brazil. Alminda was working at the sink area washing dishes and preparing food when an industrial pressure cooker nearby was operating during normal kitchen functions. The restaurant was busy with its regular service. The pressure cooker exploded without warning due to equipment failure. The heavy metal lid became a deadly projectile and struck Alminda directly in the head with tremendous force. The impact threw her body backward onto the floor as kitchen staff watched in horror. Security footage captured the sudden blast and the immediate aftermath of the violent accident. Emergency responders arrived quickly but could do nothing to save her. Alminda was pronounced dead at the scene from fatal head and chest trauma. She had been on the job for only hours when the tragedy occurred. The restaurant expressed condolences to her family and cooperated fully with police investigations into the equipment failure that killed an employee on her first shift. By the way, if you find this informative, I cover stories like these regularly. Consider subscribing if you'd like to see more. Now back to the video. Bakery mixer entanglement. On February 3, 2016, during the morning shift, 45-year-old Carmen Lindhart, known as Jackie, was working in the bakery department of the Reams grocery store in Sandy, Utah. Jackie was operating a large industrial mixer with powerful rotating augers used for mixing dough and other bakery products. The machine was a standard piece of equipment in the supermarket's bakery section. Her loose clothing or apron became caught in the spinning machinery as she worked near the active mixer. The powerful torque of the rotating augers pulled her body into the deep metal bowl with brutal force. A coworker heard her screams and rushed to the machine, managing to shut off the power. The coworker stopped the mixer as quickly as possible, but the crush injuries were already catastrophic and fatal. Emergency services arrived within minutes, but could not save Jackie. She was pronounced dead at the scene from the severe trauma caused by the industrial equipment. The incident happened in seconds, too fast for any effective intervention. The tragedy led to investigations by OSHA and local police into safety protocols at the supermarket bakery, highlighting the dangers of loose clothing near industrial machinery. Meat blender cleaning. On April 26, 2013, during the late-night shift, 41-year-old Hugo Avalos Shannon was working as a contract cleaner at Interstate Meat Distributors in Clackamas, Oregon. Hugo was assigned to clean the industrial meat blending machine, a massive piece of equipment used for mixing ground beef products. The facility operated around the clock with cleaning crews working overnight between production runs. Hugo entered the industrial meat blending machine to clean the interior of the large hopper. The machine's paddles activated while he was inside the equipment, either due to a malfunction or failure of lockout procedures. The blending blades caused fatal sharp and blunt force injuries as the machinery operated with Hugo trapped inside. Firefighters were called to the scene for what began as a rescue operation, but quickly became a body recovery. Responders had to carefully dismantle sections of the heavy industrial machinery to retrieve his body from the blender. OSHA investigators responded to examine whether proper lockout and tagout procedures had been followed. The tragedy highlighted the critical importance of lockout and tagout procedures for cleaning crews working on dangerous industrial equipment during isolated night shifts. Chocolate vat death. On December 13, 2016, during her work shift, 24-year-old Svetlana Roslina was working near a massive vat of molten chocolate mixture at a chocolate factory in Fedortsovo, Russia. Svetlana was a young mother of 2 children, working in the confectionery plant. Reports differ on whether she dropped her phone into the vat or was emptying ingredients when the incident occurred. She fell into the vat and became trapped in the heated, churning liquid chocolate. The mechanical mixer blades inside the massive vat caused severe trauma as they continued rotating. Coworkers discovered her trapped in the thick mixture and attempted to stop the machinery. The combination of intense heat and the mechanical blades made any rescue attempt impossible. Workers managed to stop the machine, but only her legs were recovered intact from the vat. The rest of her body had been destroyed by the violent mechanical action and heat of the industrial mixer. The recovery process was gruesome and difficult for all involved. Local authorities launched an investigation into safety barriers at the plant, while the nature of the accident garnered worldwide media attention. Wok collapse. On September 19, 2023, around 1 in the afternoon, 58-year-old Liu Yu-kai was preparing fried chicken at his busy market stall in a food court in Kuala Kangsar, Perak, Malaysia. Liu was known locally as Older Brother Kai and was beloved in the community for his affordable meals. He was working at his usual station when he suddenly suffered what appeared to be a medical episode, likely dizziness or fainting. He collapsed forward directly into his large wok, filled with boiling cooking oil. His face and upper chest were submerged in the superheated liquid as he fell unconscious into the vessel. His assistant and other nearby vendors rushed to pull him out of the wok as quickly as possible. He was still breathing, but had suffered severe burns to his face and chest, along with smoke inhalation from the oil. An ambulance transported him immediately to Kuala Kangsar Hospital for emergency treatment. Liu died at 2:21 in the afternoon, approximately 80 minutes after the terrible accident occurred at his food stall. The coroner ruled death by asphyxiation and thermal burns, while the community mourned the loss of a beloved local hawker. Food truck fireball. On July 1, 2014, in the late afternoon during a 93-degree day, 42-year-old Olga Galdamez and her 17-year-old daughter, Jaylin Landaveri, were cooking in their food truck at the intersection of 3rd Street and Wyoming Avenue in Feltonville, Philadelphia. The mother-daughter team operated the truck together as a family business. The truck was using a 70-year-old propane tank with no safety valves that had been overfilled by a U-Haul employee. The extreme heat caused the gas inside the ancient tank to expand rapidly. The tank ruptured under the pressure, and the escaping gas ignited immediately. A massive fireball explosion engulfed the entire food truck in flames. Both Olga and Jaylin were trapped inside the burning vehicle as the fire consumed the truck. Bystanders and emergency responders rushed to the scene. Both mother and daughter were pulled from the wreckage and transported to the hospital with catastrophic thermal injuries covering most of their bodies. They battled their severe burns for weeks, with Olga dying first, followed by Jalen. The family business had become their funeral pyre. A historic $160 million settlement was reached with U-Haul for the negligence involving the propane tank, the largest pre-verdict settlement in Pennsylvania state court history. If this was informative, consider subscribing so you don't miss future content. Thanks for watching.